again and welcome to another edition of our monthly Cook the Book. This is Valerie and I'm Tina. We're here every month on our library's YouTube channel to do what we call Cook the Book, which is where we look at a fiction book, sometimes a nonfiction, but usually a fiction book. And we find an inspiration for a food item and then we go ahead and make that recipe. So our fiction book for this month is The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. If you like the game Clue, if you like Agatha Christie, this is kind of a mashup of something like that. There are, first of all, it's a complete Clue-like mystery, but there are also games within the book. She gives you clues of other things to look for. So there's like puzzles embedded in the story, which when I read it, I did not do that because it was a lot for my brain. But that would be super fun, especially if you're into like solving things and looking for various things as you read a book. So that's super fun. This book is set in the English countryside. The main character, Lily, she has her mother pass away when she's 9 at the family house. The family house is called Endgame. The family is very into puzzles and mazes and all kinds of things like that. And they actually have a shrubbery maze outside their house. And unfortunately, the mother passes away inside the maze. And I believe Lily was 9 at the time. It was a very traumatic thing for her. She ends up being taken in by her aunt, who then lives in Endgame House also. So as Lily becomes a bit older, she leaves Endgame House. And we jump ahead 21 years. She's never been back to the house. Her aunt, who was her guardian after her mother died, passes away. And it is the aunt's last wish that Lily, along with her many other cousins, come back to the Endgame house to compete in one last 12 days of puzzles to see who will get the deed to the house. So that all happens very early on in the book. And of course, it's winter, it's Christmas time, it's the English countryside, it's snowing, the phones go out, you know, nothing good's gonna come from that. No. Lily has no interest in honestly getting the deed to the house, but she also receives a letter that her aunt had written prior to passing away. The aunt's lawyer, after her death, got the letter to Lily. And it said that Lily needed to come back for these 12 days and these 12 clues, even if she didn't want the deed to the house, because there would also be clues as to what really happened to her mother all those years ago. So that is the sole reason she goes back. She has not seen any of the family for all of those years. As you can imagine, being estranged for that long, there's a lot of relationship issues and secrets that people have. Each day of the 12 days is a puzzle. Whoever solves that puzzle gets a key. So 12 days, 12 clues, 12 keys. And whoever ends up with the most keys at the end of the 12 days will get the deed to the house. So, as you can imagine, a lot goes on and you see, will she find out what really happened to her mom? Will she not? And I love mysteries. I also love Christmas books, and this was a fun mashup of those couple of things. So, since it's Christmas time, English countryside, they're all in this beautiful home. They have someone who cooks for them all kinds of amazing things. A lot of typical English things like Yorkshire pudding and things like that. So Valerie and I started thinking about this time of year, lots of families have traditions about what they make that they may not make other times of the year. So what we thought about was meatballs. Meatballs often are for special events or if you have people over for appetizers. That it's not something you make maybe in the middle of summer.
Right.
You know,
right.
You kind of save them for special occasions, the holidays. So we started looking for some meatball recipes. This is one of my favorite cookbooks that we have that's Christmas related. It's Gooseberry Patch, Christmas All Through the House. Not only beautiful pictures and recipes, but there's crafts in here, there's decorative ideas, a lot of super cool things. So what we're gonna make today are cranberry meatballs.
All right. And as you said, I love this kind of stuff for appetizers. It's really just kind of the best. Okay, so for this recipe, we start out with 2 pounds of meat. just hamburger. I usually get a wiener hamburger. For meatballs, maybe like a 85-15 kind of. So that's what this is. And then to season it, we add some parsley flakes, and I get the par dried, so they're not completely dried. If you choose to use these are usually in the produce section in the refrigerated area.
And I feel like this type or the dried type are so much easier than the fresh, because the fresh goes bad so quickly.
It
and are
does.
expensive. Yeah.
And honestly, I end up throwing a lot of it away if I do use the fresh, which is just really unfortunate. So, okay. So then the next thing that we're gonna add is garlic salt. So I have my garlic salt in here. And actually at home I didn't have garlic salt, so I made my own. Just some garlic powder, and then I did a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then it has pepper, so I just went ahead and added the pepper in here too. So that's what this little mixture is. Okay. And then the next thing is 2 tablespoons of chopped onion, which again I had minced, so close enough. So we're gonna throw that in here. And then we have 1 cup of oatmeal. It's the 1 cup of uncooked, the quick cooking kind. So that's what this is. Throw that in there. And then we also will be doing, since I wasn't exactly sure with the measurements for the garlic salt, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And soy sauce has a pretty high sodium content, so and there's no other salt in here, so I just did a 1.5 tablespoons just to make sure I didn't over salt the meatballs. So that's what we'll do here. Okay. All right, and then it has 2 eggs that you're just gonna go ahead and just already beat, and that does help when you're mixing it into things like this if they're already beaten. So we're gonna throw that in there, and just 2 large eggs. Okay, and then the last thing in this, which always adds a good flavor to anything like meatballs, that kind of stuff, is ketchup, and it's a 1/3 cup of that in here. So that's what this is. Okay. I've mixed all this together, and before I go getting my hands dirty with this, I'm gonna put all the ingredients for the sauce in here, because then we add it's a cranberry kind of barbecue sauce.
Sounds good.
So you have a 14-ounce can of cranberries, and it's the jellied kind that we're gonna use for this. And then this type of thing, I've never used the whole berry, but I guess you could
if you had it. If you're like me, sometimes you have a can of cranberries in your pantry, and you're like, well, it's not expired yet. How long have I had that, though? It could be a good way to use it up.
Absolutely. Maybe. And I would think, like I said, I mean, you just have little pieces of cranberry, but if that's all you have,
it would be festive.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be an issue. And then you're going to use a 12-ounce jar of chili sauce. So just pour that in there also.
Oh, I love when it calls for the entire container.
I do
There's nothing
too.
worse than you've got this much left and you're conflicted. Should you throw it out? Should you put it in the fridge? What should you do?
I've actually adjusted recipes before so I can use the whole container, especially if you use like most of it to here, and I'm like, no. And then, oops, let's go ahead and get this out of here. Oh, let's use this. Let's see, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And I put it in the chili sauce bottle. You don't have to do that, but I put it in there because that way I can rinse out what's left of the chili sauce. Just make sure you get the lid on tight.
Yes.
Alright. So, not perfect, but you still get a little bit more out of there, so. My kids always make fun of me because I'm one of those people that has to get like the last little bit out of every jar and bottle. Okay, in the recipe, it doesn't call for barbecue sauce, but I love barbecue sauce, and Tina and I were talking, and usually there's always barbecue sauce at our houses. So if you're like that, you know, feel free to add some barbecue sauce to it. I just added 3/4 cup. This is my little 1/4 cup measure, so we're just gonna add 3 of those.
I feel like these will be very moist meatballs and not dry in the least.
They really are. They have a good flavor. And in the recipe, when you're making them, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, but it does say do like a 2-inch meatball. I did not do a 2-inch meatball because I looked at it, and for my particular, what we were going to use them for, I'm like, that's pretty big. And if you can see the little example there, they're a really good size. So
yeah, they really are. So would you say these are like 1.5 maybe?
Those are 1.5.
Okay.
My little scoop right here is a 1.5 inch scoop. But you really honestly do the size that suits you.
Yeah. And if you made it bigger, I suppose just adjust cooking time, or tinier, adjust cooking time.
Yeah. Okay, so there's this. The last thing that we're gonna add to this sauce is a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So that goes right in there. And then you just kind of mash up the cranberry sauce and whisk it together, and I'll give you that.
Okay.
So for anyone who likes to get their hands dirty, this is
for you.
Exactly. Because then you just start mixing up your meat mixture. And it does take a minute till you get everything really combined.
Look how pretty that is. I mean, it really looks, the sauce is very festive looking.
It is very festive looking, yes.
I feel like everybody likes meatballs. Like, if
I
you're
think
having
so.
people over, it really, I feel like, is something that, I don't know that I've ever known anyone not to want like a meatball.
No, and it's a very kid-friendly food too.
That's true, I hadn't thought of that,
So
yes.
I feel like kids love meatballs.
Uh-huh.
At least mine did.
Yeah. And honestly, if you wanted to change this to like, kind of your main dish, you could always serve it with like some rice or mac and cheese.
Which, honestly, this is what we're having for dinner.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing with it. We are gonna serve mac and cheese with it, and what we did, we just went and got a frozen one just to save time.
Oh yeah.
Because
Some of the frozen mac and cheese, oh my gosh, they are delicious.
yeah, my friend got some. I think it was either from Costco or Sam's Club recently, and it was very good.
Yes.
So
Stouffer's has such a good one too.
oh, Stouffer's has. That's what we're doing.
Yes. So
we're cheating today.
so good.
So
Well, the meatballs are homemade, so that counts as
Yes.
a homemade piece for the meal.
yes, and honestly, I would say too with the meatballs, like this meatball recipe is really good. But if you have a favorite, you could always use your favorite too. I would
Oh
think.
yeah.
I wouldn't say probably I wouldn't do like a Italian meatball recipe or anything with this. I would just do like a plain meatball recipe.
Yes.
I mean, I guess you could try. I don't know how that would go.
I
but
don't know. A lot of flavors going on in there.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so, oh, got things all over me here. Okay, so, do you want to show that scoop there?
Oh yes.
This is a 1.5 inch cookie dough scoop. This particular meat mixture is really easy to scoop with this. Some I've used these before, they're not. But just do that, then make your little.
And using that
meatballs.
is so nice that you get kind of consistent sizing.
That's what I love.
Which they'll
about
still taste good even if they're not consistently sized. But if
Oh,
you,
yeah.
especially if you're having people over, they look nice when they're kind of consistent.
Well, in this recipe, it says for 2-inch meatballs, it says that it makes 42. With 1.5 inch meatballs, I got 25.
Oh well, that's
So
yeah.
if you're planning on 2 pounds of meat and all of this to get 42,
No.
that's not
No.
gonna happen.
No.
So, but anyway, and then what I do is I use the grilling foil, the non-stick grilling foil on my pans, like basically for anything that I cook on.
That's a
RPG.
great idea.
Meat wise anyway, meat, vegetables, I use the grilling foil. Yeah, and then you can just put them on here. And as far as oh, thank you. As far as this goes, like, really quick. So you don't have to, not like cookies, because they're not gonna like expand or anything. If anything, these will shrink up a little bit. So when you put them on your cookie sheet, you can put them fairly close together. So once you get all of your meatballs put on here, it'll be $3.50 for 25 minutes. And then you take them out, you cover each one with a little bit of the barbecue cranberry sauce mixture. I just took a bigger spoon and just put 1 spoonful over each, and it was perfect. And then you put them back in for 15 minutes and just, then they're ready to go.
Very nice.
So,
And if you wanted to keep them warm, you could put them in the crock pot.
yeah, which is what I did with the first batch, and I did put it on low, but it's not really necessary because they're already cooked. But just to keep them heated.
Yeah, especially if you're you're having people over there serving or going back to it, that would be great.
But yeah, you can just throw them on warm. And I had some sauce left over, so I just threw the extra sauce in the crock pot. That way, if anybody wants extra sauce, because I like extra sauce with that stuff. So
yes, for sure. Oh gosh, these sound like a great thing to have during the holidays, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think it would be. So.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, if you are in the Central Ohio area, we would love to see you at our library. If not, we hope you're enjoying our videos. We have a lot of them on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.